Hey guys, it's Monica and welcome back. So today we're going to be doing my 2022 version of how to make a tumbler from start to finish. So let's get into it. And so I'm going to be starting out with a couple of Hog 20 ounce. These are the skinny plus. I prefer just the regular skinny with the push on lids because I don't know, I'll be hulking out on them twist on lids and I don't know, they just don't be working the best for me, and that's just a personal thing. But I'm just showing off the tumbler a little bit. I will leave a link to the tumblers below in the Stainless Steel Depot website, but this is like my stainless steel tumbler of choice. They're super affordable and you can get them as low as like $3.95, and when they're like $3.95 I order like 12 at a time so I can always have like a back stock of them. And they have this little sticker on the bottom of this thing. You can also pop out that little silver thing if you want to, or you can seal it into the cup. And so prep, people are always going to ask about prep. I just prep my cups with 70% or 91% is fine as well, isopropyl alcohol. And I just put some isopropyl alcohol on a paper towel and I just wipe down the cup. And that's because it always be having like factory dust on it. And I'll show you like the little dirt that comes off of it. And like people are going to be like, do you sand, or what about sanding? I personally do not sand. I have nothing against sanding. It's just an extra step that I haven't personally seen a benefit from, or a difference in my cups when I sand and when I don't sand. So do whatever works best for you. This video is just strictly how I do my cups, and I'll tell you the reasons why or why I don't do something. So yeah, build on this information however you choose to make your cups. So yeah, and so I'm just going to tape off my cup because I am going to take these down to my garage and spray paint them. You don't have to spray paint your cups. For the longest time, I did not spray paint my cups. I just like a white background to work from. I did not show the spray painting part because that would require me to haul my camera and my tripod, and so I just wasn't doing that. And this is how it looks. I've never claimed to be the best spray painter, but you know, I can get the job done. And so I just use a flat white spray paint. I'll leave a link to that below as well because I cannot think of the name. It's like one of the two popular brands, Blue Writing, that you can get at Walmart, Target, all in places, and I cannot think of it to save my life. But yeah, I will leave a link to it below. And so once you spray paint it, wait a little bit, and however long it says it needs to dry. For that kind of stuff, always follow the directions that are on the product. And so I'm going to be doing the Mod Podge method for my glittering. And so I use the glossy Mod Podge. Feel free to use any kind of glue, maybe not Elmer's, like come on y'all, work with me, but like a decoupage glue to adhere your adhesive. I know a lot of people are into the glitter glue. Like, I'm not giving Crystal like no more of my money right now. So regular Mod Podge, you can pick up the one from the Dollar Tree with the yellow one, which I believe is the matte one. It works just fine. Don't get caught up in trying to buy every single thing you see me have in this video, y'all. Buy what works best for you, for your budget and your skill level. And so I'm going to be using poolside glitter. You can pick this glitter up at PeriodSixDesigns.com. Note that they do not come with a label that has masking tape and my handwriting and a random color marker on it. They're in a nice, these are my personal 5-ounce jars, but I sell them in their 4-ounce jars, 2 ounces by weight. And I'm just using the Wet n Royale brush from the Dollar Tree. Thank you to the person that left a comment on how to clean my brushes. I haven't tried it. By the time you had left that comment, I had threw away the brushes that I determined was too crusty for my liking, but I will definitely try when my brushes get crusty again. So thank you, girl. And just some computer paper. Man, let me tell y'all, I miss the days when you could use to take supplies from your office, because like at my old job, if I needed, a couple sheets of paper, I can just take a couple sheets of paper. At my new job, when I tell you that lady keep everything locked and she keep the key, like one time I was like, cause I'm a pencil girl, I keep a lot of pencils, and when I had moved here, all my stuff was coming on the moving truck, so I literally didn't have like my own pencils and pens that I would keep at my desk because my moving truck wasn't coming for 3 weeks. And when I tell you, this lady watched me like a hawk in order to get a pen out of the cabinet that she had to give me the key to, I was like, oh, y'all doing too much here. Like, it's real cheap around here. Like, this didn't happen at my old job. But anyways, and so back to what I'm doing. And so I am just trying to get it nice, even. Don't try to make it super thin, because when you do this first layer of glue, it is going to dry way quicker than you actually think it is. And you're going to get spots where your glitter doesn't stick. So try to get it even, but also try to get some thickness on it. Now, you don't want it gooping. You don't want to be able to press your finger in it and it like leaves like a super input and you can push glue out to the sides. That's not what you want. And so what I'm doing is I'm just hitting the edges with the glitter first because those two areas tend to dry the quickest. So I go ahead and just glitter on the bottom, glitter on the top, and then I'm just going to fill in the glitter around the rest of the cup. And we're just doing a single color glitter day because this is strictly for my beginners. Well, it's not strictly for my beginners. Everyone is welcome. Okay, everyone's welcome over here at Period 6. And that's what it's working with. But we're just doing one color to keep it simple. And so for me personally, it looked pretty good after the first layer. But you may use a glitter and you're like, I don't like how this looks. Can I repeat it? Absolutely. And so we're just going to repeat the same thing we did last time. We are going to take our Mod Podge, a clean brush, of course, take our Mod Podge and do another layer. The good thing about this second layer when you Mod Podge is that glue soaks into that first layer and it doesn't dry as fast. It's kind of just like soaking and sitting. And so you do have a little bit more time to work. This is especially important if you're doing like ombres and stuff where you gotta kind of be focused and like you're really trying to not precisely lay down your glitter. So that kind of stuff is important to note when you're doing this. But yeah, just doing the same thing over and over. So yeah, like I said, I'm making this video because I've been getting a lot of new people. Hey, new people, make sure you're subscribed. Leave me a comment, thumbs up. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Pinterest at PeriodSixDesigns that are wanting to start their Tumbler business or want to make them for personal reasons. I know the holidays are going to become... Y'all know don't tell nobody. I told y'all a story how I'm a secret Ray Dunner. And it's crazy to be shopping for Halloween stuff in July. But and the girls are fighting here in Colorado because apparently there's some lady going around buying up all the Halloween stuff. And the girls are mad. I'm just like, I ain't that pressed. I don't need all that junk in my house. So that's what it looks like after 2 layers of glitter. So after waiting a couple hours, I like to seal in my glitter. And so this step is optional and you also have options. I'm going to show you what I've been doing for probably about the last year or so. And my cup is spinning on a turner. People always ask, what are you using to spin your cup? And so what you're seeing is my multi-cup turner, but I also have a single cup turner, both made by the same company, and I will leave a link to it below. I definitely recommend starting out with a single cup turner. If you're just getting started, no need to jump out there and spend all that money on a multi-cup turner. Unless you just, unless you got big plans, girl, do your thing. But I feel like it's very, and shout out to all the girls that have those 8-cup turners. My anxiety would never, y'all see I have a 3-cup multi-cup turner and I will never get more than a 4 because my anxiety will not let me do something like have that many cups on a turner. I already got high blood pressure and on medication. I don't need that problem in my life. And so I'm just dusting off the excess glitter before I seal it. I'm going to be using Counterculture's DIY's Quick Coat in order to seal my glitter. So let's talk about options for sealing. You can use Mod Podge to seal your glitter. You do not need to go out and buy Counterculture's DIY Quick Coat or nothing like that. You can literally just seal it with Mod Podge and then go into your epoxy. You can also seal with a polyacrylic type material like a Bright Tone or Minwax's polyacrylic. That is completely fine. And you can also use a spray sealer. So clear spray paint, which I had done for a couple of years when I first started making tumblers, is completely fine as well. So don't feel like you need to go out and buy something that's expensive or out of your budget for wherever you're at in your tumbler making journey in order to do this step. But again, you can especially for the single color, you can absolutely go straight into the epoxy, which I also did for years because I just spray because it seemed like at the time only spray paint sealing was an option and it was just too much for me. So I just went straight into epoxy, which worked fine for me for years. I've seen the benefits of sealing, but do what floats your boat. All right. So, and I also do 2 layers of Quick Coat. And then I wait till the next day to let everything dry. And so I'm going to be using Alumilite's amazing Quick Coat epoxy, and it's a part A and part B. People be like, do you put on A and you put on B? Sometimes I be worried about y'all. I have to admit, because, and I don't know, I feel like I work in an industry where I have to work with materials. And so I feel like I'm just exposed to some things more often than some people. But if somebody was said to me are you using it's a A-B. I'm like, okay, so in my mind, that's a mix. You have to mix A and B. Because what epoxy is you're using a resin and a hardener. It creates a chemical reaction, and what it does is it forms a plastic. You see I'm getting down there. You got to get down there. Y'all see me in the corner? You got to get down there at eye level to make sure you measuring right. Because if you cannot see your lines, you're going to be off, and you don't want to be off. But yeah, but anyways, what it does is it creates a chemical reaction which forms a hard plastic. And that's how we get these beautiful tumblers that have sealed in glitter and that you can wash and all those good things. And so what you do, you're going to measure by volume equal parts of A and B. So equal parts of your resin and equal parts of your hardener. And you see how slow I was mixing? That's how slow you want to mix your epoxy to start out, because you want to incorporate the least amount of bubbles as possible. And that's just only important because it'll be less heat you have to apply to your tumbler when you epoxy. And so I'm going to be doing this part in real time, and I'm going to talk you through it. So I do what I call the drop and catch method. Is I put my finger up against the cup very lightly, and then I pour a little bit of my epoxy onto the cup, and I let the cup spin, and I just hold my finger there, and I kind of just let like gravity and the turner do the work. I'm not overworking my epoxy or anything like that. Y'all see, nice and simple. There's some people that just pour it on there and work it. I like this method, and you can do it a lot faster than what I'm showing you, but I'm just being very intentional so y'all can see how I do it. And then once I get around the cup once, I like to just take my finger, and I'm either going to work in a downward motion if I'm towards the bottom of the cup, or I'll work in an upward motion if I'm towards the top of the cup. And I do this pretty much all the way to the top. When I get like pretty close to the rim, I will just use those upward motions of moving my fingers in order to cover that rim. Because you want to be careful. You don't want to get, if you get epoxy in your cup, it's not a big deal. You just let it cure, and you can just take your utility X-Acto knife and just pop it out. It's like not that big of a deal, but we want to try to keep it as clean as possible. And so you see now I just work it up to that rim right here. I don't try to actually do like the drop and catch all the way up to the rim, because if you do, like I said, you could very easily get that spillover inside your tumbler. And you can always clean it up with alcohol while it's still wet. Me personally, I just prefer to just go ahead and let it just dry on there, because that, like, you can chip it off, as opposed to where if you try to get alcohol, you might get like a sticky residue or something left over. So it's easier just to let it cure, and just it's much easier. It's just a much easier situation. So on the bottom, I also drop and catch on the bottom. I just hold my finger down there, and I get a little epoxy on it, and then I just work it around. So, and I always pay special attention to my edges, because these little edges will naturally want to be rough. And so I will give them a little love and attention and make sure that they're nice and evenly coated. Sometimes I'll even pour, like if it's like my second layer and that first layer was pretty rough and I can't get them as smooth as I want it when I sand, I will put a little extra in. So you see me adding this little bit of extra epoxy right here to just give my edge just a little extra love, okay? And just try to make it smooth. And you don't need to overwork your epoxy or anything like that. But you can always say, and that's what I have left. So there's still plenty left. So if you still have plenty left and you feel like your coat is pretty thin, feel free to go ahead and put the rest. Oh, y'all gonna ask how much? That is 10 mils of side A, 10 mils of side B, so 20 mils total. And so usually I'll do this, and what'll happen is I'll end up taking it right back off the cup. Because I'd be like, oh, I don't want to be wasteful. Because I've said before, I'm super wasteful when it comes to epoxy. I'll always measure more than I want to. It's easier for me to hit the 10 line on the cup than it is for me to hit the 7.5 line and the 15 line on the cup. You can really get away for a 20 ounce. You can do, you see, I'm wiping it off. You can do 15 mils total. But again, for me, it's just easier to hit the 10 line and the 20 line than the 7.5 and the 15. It just is what it is. It's a personal thing, I guess. But yeah. You don't have to sit there and work it. If your layer is pretty thin, feel free to put a little extra on. But if it's already pretty thick on that first layer, I'd rather you build up your layers than have to do a bunch of sanding. So that's just something else to keep in mind. So if you end up doing 3 layers of epoxy, if they're all relatively thin, that's completely fine. But you don't want to do 3 super thick layers of epoxy because it's going to reflect in your cup and it won't be all that cute. And we don't do that over here. And so that's epoxy. And so someone's also going to ask you to use a heat gun. Sure, sometimes. This is a Drill Master. It's just from Harbor Freight. And also when you do epoxy, you need to be wearing a respirator. I also get my respirators from Harbor Freight. They're like $15. So, and they're like, I think they call them like disposable. You get some wears out of it. You'll know when you need to go just throw it away and go buy a new one. And at $15, you can't beat it. And I just hit it one revolution with the heat gun and that be it. All right. So this is the next day. You need to let your epoxy cure based on whatever is on the packaging. And so the epoxy that I showed you guys is you can recoat after 6 to 8 hours. But some epoxies are 24 hours, some are 12. So just go by whatever's on your packaging. But at that point, we are ready to sand. So I always, like I said, I always give extra love to those rims. So top rim and bottom rim, I will give extra love to. And then sometimes, like I said, if you get like a little bit of epoxy on the rim, just take your X-Acto knife, run it around the edge, and get any little pieces up. You can see this one wasn't really that bad. But I want to throw that in there and show you guys just in case. And so just showing extra love to that rim, getting it nice and smooth. I sand with epoxy, I sand until it is smooth. And I say that the epoxy is smooth. Don't sand it, y'all. Don't sand into your glitter. You will know when you're sanding into your glitter, especially if you're using a craft glitter. But if you want to get some good polyester glitter, come over to PeriodSixDesigns.com. Because you'll know it. But yeah, we're sanding the epoxy. We're not sanding the glitter. If you're to a point where you have to sand the glitter, you need to just recoat your cup again. And what I do, I just run my finger along my cup and I hit any hot spots. You can sand the whole cup if you want to. I ain't got that kind of energy. I'm just sanding hot spots. And y'all know I got that part-time job wax and my wrists be tired. Like I can't, and like you can also, I buy individual sheets of sanding paper because it's cheaper. You can also buy sanding blocks. Sanding blocks are like $8 though. Like I'm not spending that when I can buy a whole pack for like $3. So again, personal preference. The grit is just a fine grit. I think it's like, don't ask me. I'll leave the grit below, but it's just get a super fine grit. And then once again, I wipe it down with alcohol just to get all that dust and everything away. And you also should be wearing your respirator mask when you are sanding. Don't nobody ask me if it's optional. Y'all got to take personal responsibility for your actions. Okay. And so let's put a vinyl on it. So after you do that first layer of epoxy, or if you have to do a second one if it's super rough, this is the point and when you can put your vinyl decal on. So people always ask me, when do you put the decal on? This is when you do it. You want to have at least one layer of epoxy down. Sand your cup first. Don't try to sand your cup after, because you want the surface that you put it on to be nice and smooth. And so I just picked this little cute one. It said they don't pay me enough to care. Because that's just how I be feeling. Somebody left me a comment because my last video, I called my neighbor a crackhead. And I'm sorry if that was triggering for you. I went ahead and blocked you, so don't even worry about commenting back. I'm pretty sure that was your first comment, and you spelled neighbor with a U, so which lets me know you're not American. Like, girl, you know, like, we got real problems going on over here. And drugs is one of them. And I'm not going to call nobody a crackhead if you're not a crackhead. And her dogs is ugly. Let me not doubling down in the video. Let me stop. All right, anyways, but I still thought this one was cute. And so after that, make sure you smooth out any kind of bubbles or anything you have in your vinyl. And then me personally, I always like to seal in my vinyls, and it just makes it so that sometimes you'll put vinyl on the cup and you will come back in an hour just to check on it, and half the vinyl will be sticking up. You'll be like, what happened? So I use a little bit of that quick coat in order to seal in the vinyl as well. And I don't put it on the whole cup, just over where the vinyl is. And then you let that sit for at least an hour, and then you are ready to seal that in with your last layer of epoxy. So again, doing that drop and catch method to finish up the cup. So, yeah. And so, one more thing I will point out as far as this part, I thought I had this sped up. That's my fault. It's going a little slow. Y'all can see how, like, it's still in real time. So, still doing that same drop and catch method. We're good over here. And one thing that I do want to point out for after the decal layer, I do use my heat gun, and you can use a torch as well. I just butane, epoxy, all these chemicals, it'd be too much. I can't maintain all them chemicals. I just got to use the heat gun. I will zap the decal as it's spinning to make sure that I have the least amount of bubbles possible that are going to be visible in that epoxy on that decal. And like you can hide, like if you have like little micro bubbles, glitter helps hide those. That's why I don't be too pressed on doing it on like the first layer. But definitely when I use any type of vinyl design, definitely hit it with that heat gun. You see I'm getting really close, just really trying to pop those bubbles. Don't do it like 16 times, y'all. You're going to burn the epoxy, and your epoxy going to be so thin it's going to fall off the cup. And that's not what we want. But only do that a couple times because, again, epoxy will burn if you heat it too much. So, yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then you're going to let it spin for however long the company, whatever epoxy you choose says you need to spin. And I will show you guys the finished product in just a second. So, here it comes. So this is our cup, and that's what it looks like after it's nice and epoxied and cured and beautiful and lovely. So yeah, if you like these kind of videos, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Leave me a comment below. If y'all want me to go live and start doing lives, leave me the platform you want me to do lives on, and also what like days, time of day works best for y'all. So yeah, if that's something y'all want to see me do and want to join me in, subscribe. Follow us on social media and check out our website, and I'll see you guys in the next one.